You've tuned in to chipsgrooveradio with your hosts, Mike and John. So the snow's not hitting you too hard then? Are you?
No.
I know I keep seeing weather reports of the Northeast or something, but I'm not sure how. I haven't looked at the radar, I guess. But
yeah, the snowstorm on Sunday, we got like 5 or 6 inches. But we're on kind of on the coast. We're on the southern part of Massachusetts.
Yeah.
The northwest and north got like over a foot of snow.
Oh wow.
It was a big storm, but we just got rain and then snow.
Yeah, they predicted 10 inches or so for us, but didn't feel like it at all. And they closed everything the day before.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I had a day off work, and it was like maybe an inch. It was just enough to make the driveway need to be shoveled, and then the rest of the day I shoveled again this morning, and it really wasn't that bad. So.
Yeah,
I think it may have been more icy or anything. I didn't go anywhere yesterday, so I don't really know. But
yeah,
thankfully not too bad, and I appreciate the day off of work. That was nice.
Yeah, it was such a wild swing from that, and then we had like 50-degree weather with the nor'easter coming through with high winds.
Oh wow!
And I was worried that we're gonna have another power outage like we did a couple weeks ago. It lasted like 2 days.
Dang.
But thankfully we didn't. There was a couple places that I guess like thousands of people had lost power masts, but we were lucky in that regard.
I know the Northeast gets pummeled quite a bit, and I know New York had some problems last year. I think it was. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have is where you live? Is that like a generator? Like you need it just in case, or
yeah. Especially my town is pretty small. It's like 5,000 people. Mm-hmm. So the massive power company that owns the entire Northeast, they tend to get to us later than most.
Of course.
One of the best things about I lived in a town a little bit north of here, and it was a bit bigger. But the best thing about that town is that they had a municipal light and power company, so it was all in town. Mm-hmm. So they actually gave a crap about what was going on, and they trimmed trees, and you had your power. You barely ever lost power. It was great. It was cheap.
Well, that's good. Well, at least the occasional power outage might give you the chance to relax a little bit. Maybe listen to some tunes or or do a podcast.
Well, I mean, at some point in probably the near future, Earth is going to look a lot like the lands of Borderlands.
I think so. Yeah.
We're going to have to don some masks or
almost there.
Get some tattoos. I don't know.
Yeah. It's going to be Psycho City here. But yeah, we are recording our review of Borderlands today. And this is, wow, I haven't listened to this in a long time. So this was a blast from the past for me.
Man, the Borderlands game, when it was coming out, I felt like there was such hype behind it, especially around like the gunplay, like the randomization of guns and the setting seemed really cool. The cell shaded graphics were really, really unique, and
which I think was an afterthought, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
I think completely... so. Yeah, because it looked bad, and then they were like, "Oh, maybe we just
let's just draw some lines on it and make it."
Oh, it looks
that's great,
stylish now,
and now it actually looks really good. You know, it was
it looks great.
It was a fantastic choice, but yeah, I think I saw a couple photos a long time ago of what it was originally supposed to be, and it was like, whoa,
yeah. I would have to say the first Borderlands, while it's like kind of a unique game, was probably not the best one. No. I think 2 is probably the best Borderlands.
There was just so much going on and a lot more. Yeah. They found their footing with 2. I think it was a little bit longer, and they dialed up the humor, and
all the characters in Borderlands 1 were very, except for Claptrap, which is the only one who actually had any kind of personality.
Right.
Every other character was kind of one-dimensional. Yep. I mean, all of them are kind of one-dimensional.
Typical protagonist.
Humorous.
the non-speaking or very few lines of your protagonist.
But even like the enemies or like the bosses and stuff, they had like their little quirks and stuff, but it wasn't I don't think they went as hard as they did in Borderlands 2. So like thinking back at the game, the guns themselves, I was really hyped about, like, oh, they're gonna go crazy with this, and they didn't go nearly as crazy as I thought they were gonna do. Like the guns in Borderlands 1 were interesting, but they didn't, like, I don't know, they weren't like so unique that, like, they were. I want guns that are seemingly useless and but are so bonkers that are just fun to shoot or whatever. I don't want, like, oh, this one has some electric and this one has like some fire, and that's basically the difference.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect with this. I just kept hearing my friends talk about Borderlands. It's a first-person shooter and it's an RPG, and I'm like, what? And they're talking about guns, and I want to say that even in 2009, I had this kind of narrow scope on what an RPG was, and I think in my head I always viewed it as swords and sorcery, but I had never played a first-person shooter. Now I'm going to put a little asterisk here. Yes, I know that plenty of RPGs since gaming existed were first-person, but they were still mostly swords and sorcery, is my point.
It wasn't twitch shooting.
It was not active combat and, real-time stuff. So when I played Borderlands for the first time, I'm like, wow, they really took the mechanics of an RPG and applied them to guns and firearms. And that was really interesting to me. There was skill trees, there were character development to a point, I guess.
A little bit, but, like talent trees or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, these guns have area effects. And I get it now. The bullets don't do anything. It's the guns that are affecting the bullets and stuff. I was like, well, that's kind of cool. And I never really viewed it that way. So it was a really eye-opening game for me for what an RPG could be. And I would venture to say it is right on the cusp of RPGs infecting everything. Yeah. Because now you can't have like a cable account without gaining a level in your profile or something. Everything has like level like ups now. And it just blows my mind how prevalent the RPG mechanics, no matter how rudimentary, have.
Modern Warfare is an RPG.
Exactly. Like, you're upgrading your guns and it's like, whoa. I never saw this really dorky thing when I was in middle school or grade school. I'm like, keeping it to myself, and now it's the world. It's everything is gamified. So
and I think I probably came at it from the other direction of, oh, this looks like a fun shooter, and it just so happens to have some little role play stuff or whatever, like some item management or upgrades or whatever. But for the most part, it was about how it felt as a first person shooter. And I think I have fond memories of playing it, this and Borderlands 2, of just the ability for them to make a game that is so fast moving, but also make it feel like your decisions to upgrade weapons or to try to synergize weapons or to pick the right weapons for the right zones, which is something that got a little bit more important in the later games, like where you go to the mech zone, you pick like electric guns and all that kind of stuff. That was they did a good job of making it not obtrusive, but also not like completely
like you couldn't just walk over everything with any gun. Yeah.
Right.
They definitely dove into that a lot more in, I think, Borderlands 2. But with like robotics, you wanted to use electricity or caustic things, something that would eat away at the mechanics, which was kind of a cool idea.
Yep.
But yeah, man, the soundtrack. How did it feel listening to this again?
It was. It's interesting. I thought it was gonna be a different experience listening to it. I thought it was a lot more West twangy than it actually ended up being. For some reason in my mind, it was always that the kind of wild Western twangy guitar throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
But it's there obviously, and a lot of the songs have that kind of Western feel to them. But it's a lot of and I think this has to do with the post-apocalyptic, like techno style of my dystopian style.
Right.
There's a lot of techno, heavy beats, bass, bass and drums, and then there's mixing of other like genres. Like There's like some Eastern flair in some of the
Yeah,
songs.
I was going to say Middle Eastern there's just a hint of it, just enough to remind anyone who doesn't know what they're listening to that it's a desert. It's hot here. It's disgusting. So but for the most part, listening to this again, it was primarily ambient, and I think I knew that in the back of my head, but I was a little bit surprised by it. I didn't realize just how ambient it was. Yeah. It makes listening to it a little bit of a calming experience for me. And, it utilizes some very reverberant horns and bongos. The composers really build out that idea of desolation. One of the most constant through lines for the album, like you were saying, is the Wild West. It's not everywhere, but it's there. Borderlands, while extremely futuristic and fantastical, is essentially a Western.
A Wild West.
The attitudes of the game's characters are very cutthroat and outlawish. Pandora itself is appropriately a mostly sparse desert wasteland filled with dangerous creatures and enemy combatants ranging from, deranged psychos to the military. So
right. And this was composed by 4 people: Jesper Kidd, Razan Varner, Sasha Dikishian, who is Sonic Mayhem. You'll remember them from Quake 2, and then Chris Velasco. And I guess so. It was interesting going through listening to the tracks. You could tell the ambient stuff was Jesper Kidd, and also Razan. And then the boss fights were almost primarily Sasha and Chris. Doing the boss fights, which is I think a really interesting way of splitting up a soundtrack. You have people who are maybe better at the more ambient mood building, and then you have people who are better at the action oriented soundtrack.
Yeah, very much so. And it's interesting because even the battles don't get overly intense. It still falls to me under that category of ambience, where I almost would say that you could take some of the slower songs by Razan and Sasha and pair them with battles, and you could take some of the more intense stuff and pair them with exploring for loot. It's weird. There's a very constant through line of ambience to all the tracks. It really feels like you could apply a tense situation or a very mundane situation to any track, it feels like, for me, which I thought is very, very talented to bring all those things together.
I was getting a lot of so like I felt like this had some similarities with the Bastion soundtrack, but I think Bastion is a lot more Western than this is. But there's a lot of songs in here that remind me of Homeworld. Surprisingly.
Okay.
A lot of the ambient songs and some of the ones that Razan did, the more Eastern flair, that really reminded me a lot of the Homeworld soundtrack. Like
the Squadron songs, that one race. Yeah, I know what you're talking about now. Definitely.
So it was a cool mix of that like kind of ambient, like Eastern ambience and Western ambience and then the more bombastic, maybe not to the level of Quake 2 with Sonic Mayhem, but still more bombastic, kind of techno heavy boss from Sonic Mayhem.
Yeah. I was thinking about Trent Reznor's Quake soundtrack when I was listening to this, not because it's identical or anything like that, but because that was a very ambient soundtrack, and it brought that world to life in a very powerful way. And I think this one does the same thing for this wasteland that you're exploring, and everything feels very vast when you're listening to it. When the horns and the drums are, they add just a little bit of reverb to make it sound like it's out in the distance. It's that 3-dimensional sound I always talk about. It's very powerful and very, if you're listening to it with headphones, which is the only way to go with the soundtrack, it's like, wow, I'm on Pandora right now. It's very immersive.
Yeah, it's great. The echoey and far away sound that you get in some of those ambient does help like give you that sense of this vast like desert planet, but also has these like pockets of civilization or pockets of creatures and wildlife. One of them that I think the second song on the album, Welcome to Firestone, is a really good example of an ambient track, and I believe it's for when you're in the actual town. Has a very a twangy guitar, has some bongos. You can feel that reverb guitar kind of in the distance, kind of hitting, reverberating off of buildings as it plays in the alley. A lot of note bending. So it's very twangy, very Western, but with that weird flair to it, where a lot of the notes just get bent out of shape, like crazy. But overall, this whole track is a very calm, like hub world kind of feel to it before you go into the madness that is the wilderness.
Yeah, it is a very calm and unassuming track for your hub town. I believe the first actual location you visit, right?
City you're in.
Yeah. And this is where you go to your vending machines and your doctor to get your items and stuff. So it is appropriately so calm. Yeah. You get a sense of relaxation with it, which is strange for this game, but it almost at the same time is preparing you for the danger of Pandora. It's a very chaotic place with those Western undertones that accompany this place. I really
with the weirdness of some of the guitar and the kind of off notes that are played underneath.
Absolutely,
there's a sinister nature to the world that you kind of reveal throughout the entire game. Of it's kind of this Western hostile environment, corporate, military, like it's all these bad things that are happening all once on one planet.
Yeah, it's not an overly aggressive danger in this song, but there's a feeling of solitude to it, which in and of itself brings a level of fear, I think, and that's important for this game. And we've talked a lot about perhaps the ambient nature of the whole album, but I want to say that that's not to say there isn't tension.
Yeah,
a song like "Assaulting Crom's Canyon," there's some tension there, which is a stellar track that really just captures the movement. I want to like the forward movement of the game. It's running all over the place in desperate gunfights, seemingly endless danger. It's really tracks like these that they have a sweeping groove to the gunplay and exploration as well. It offers a unique experience because even when you're not in the heat of battle, it keeps searching for loot, entertaining and powerful in and of itself. It's a little hard to explain, but the rhythm of this track is extremely effective in just about any situation the game throws at you. So I really liked this song.
Yeah, that and the assaulting, like you have the heavy drums that are offbeat and almost seemingly random. Lays this like sense of there's lurking around every corner. There's some danger. And there is certainly a level of tension in this track. It's a great way of bringing the character back into focus of like what's happening around them. You can have these expansive worlds where you have this nice ambient music and you're exploring and you're going from place to place, you're doing quests. But when you want them to focus in on like a certain danger, like you're in a tunnel, you're in a cavern, and there's people out to get you. Songs like this really help focus a player in on that danger.
Absolutely. Yeah, Crom's Canyon is extremely fun. A little bit more tense. It does have a different feeling to it than perhaps some of the other songs. I think the tension is still there. I still want to say again that it does feel like you can use it anywhere, but for that moment, assaulting on Crom's Canyon, it's very prominent, very important.
One of the tracks I think that really helped with it mixes a line between ambience and action, and I think this happens when you're in kind of the open, but fighting off the skags, which is has that Eastern flair to it. There's throat singing and there's like a sitar like instrument, along with these bombastic drums and horns. It really pushes along this kind of dangerous melody that there's these dog-like things, the skags.
Yep.
all nested all around, and you have to walk through this dangerous valley. You have to fight them off and destroy their layers and all that. They're just trying to live, man.
They got annoying sometimes.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, I know. Especially the big ones. The big ones are really annoying.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm a sucker for throat singing and
absolutely.
And like that Middle Eastern flair.
Is that a flute of some sort, or like a jug flute that keeps accenting? I don't know what it is.
No, I think the low one.
It is during the throat singing, but it's before you can really pick out the throat singing. It's like that higher pitched. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Maybe it is the throat singing. I don't know. It's just a cool little flair.
Yeah, you have that low bass throat singing kind of laying a strong line below, and then you have the kind of higher, the Mongolian throat singing above it, which is just, I love.
Mm-hmm. It's a very, very fun song, and it's probably one of the ones you hear the most in the game.
Yeah, for sure.
This one brought back some memories. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's 2009 all over again.
They're all around.
They're all around. Now, I assume that you played this with friends, right?
Did I play? I think I played Borderlands on my own. I think I played Borderlands 2 with friends.
Okay. Fair enough.
Maybe. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say was this game was important to me simply because it was like the lone game in a world of, online. We were just discovering online gaming, so everything had to be online, and this one had couch co-op, and I was like, fuck yes, finally. So I actually owe my friendship with my buddy Joe to this game. He was actually he was the ex of my girlfriend at the time. Mm-hmm. He was friends with her brother.
It's cool.
We're all cool. No, he was friends with her brother, so I saw him a lot. And we developed this friendship. And this is, I believe, the first game that we actually sat down and played. And it's because of that couch co-op that we really kind of built that friendship.
Bonded.
Yeah. So a lot can be attributed to that couch co-op. And thankfully this game existed at the time, and they chose to do that because he's a kick-ass guy, one of my best friends, and an active listener of the podcast.
Oh, well, hello. This one's for you.
This one's for Joe.
this one goes out to Joe. The co-op part of it, especially when I think I only played online when I played, because I played PC. So I think we only played online on Borderlands 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the sad thing is games like that are seemingly few and far between, where you can truly have just a fun, chill session with your friends. It's not competitive. It's just you're going out into the wilderness, doing quests, killing psychos and skags, and it's getting loot and killing bosses, and
And I want to say it was probably a thought of, okay, this is at heart an RPG, and some of the most successful RPGs are those multiplayer experiences where you're in the same room, like your Diablo 2, for instance, where you would LAN party, and it's a very important thing. And even so far back as a game like Secret of Mana, where you're next to your buddies playing 3-player Secret of Mana RPG. It was a very new concept, but it was very exciting. And I think at its heart, that's what this is an RPG that you want to experience with people.
Yeah. Yeah, especially the second one, because
absolutely.
the better characters and better writing, it's just a much more fun time.
Yeah. So yeah, this game, man, the soundtrack was such a fun listen. It is undeniable that Borderlands, the game itself, had an impact on the industry, and the attitude of the game, the art direction, the story and gameplay all created a fascinating and cynical look at the future. Humor also plays a big role in the story, made the game a standout gem for the time. So it takes a powerful soundtrack to accompany that and help the game succeed. Honestly, I think the composers knocked it out of the park with the soundtrack, and it feels like a living organism. It is Pandora. Without this soundtrack, the planet is just a place, but with those steady drums and the reverberant guitars and horns, it really becomes a wilderness on a planet in deep space. There's unseen threats and dust devils wisping about. Characters have an inherent edge because of this music. Towns have a grit to them that keeps them foreboding and dark, like we talked about with Firestone.
Yeah.
Beyond that, the music just keeps the scenery of the game vibrant and more interesting when nothing's happening. So,
yeah, for sure.
When exploring Pandora alone or with friends, I think the music really helps keep it interesting and enjoyable. If you play the game with headphones on, that's the real experience right there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a game that I don't know if I'd want to go back to Borderlands 1, but I definitely want to go back to one of the Borderlands, because I haven't played them in a long time. And I've always loved the music in it, but I've never really listened to it outside of the game. And it's nice that it's clear that it's a soundtrack that is well defined in what it's trying to do, and the atmosphere is there. Not to say that it's only ambient.
No, absolutely.
It's like Borders on the line. Borders on the line of ambient and like active, soundtrack. And I think in a way, it's good that you have these soundtracks where the music can either meld into the background and kind of be part of the scenery, but also come to the fore where you have these tension moments and really focus a player in on what's going on around them and add to that tension, add to the action, add to the fun that you're having in the game. And I think the soundtrack for this does it really well. I mean, This would fit anywhere in if you wanted to run a space cowboy bebop role-playing game or whatever, this would be pretty good in that, or like a dystopian future or whatever. Wild West.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's kind of like a living organism where it's not as reactive as a normal soundtrack would be. It's not level 1, level 2, anything like that.
Yeah.
But it ramps up the tension subtly. It doesn't feel like the music is switching tracks. It is, but it's not really something that's like, okay, you hear the recording stop and then the next song starts. It's very...
All of a sudden I'm in a boss fight.
Yeah. They ramp up the tension in a very subtle way, and it there's a cohesion to the rest of the lower, slower songs. That's really nice. So I want to say I give this album 9 out of 10 Mad Moxies. I think the only reason it's a 9 and not a 10 is just because I kind of want more.
Yeah.
It's only an hour long. which is strange for an RPG, short. But
curious how long the Borderlands 2, because all these guys composed the Borderlands 2 soundtrack as well. Yeah. And so if you want more of that, you just go to Borderlands 2. Yeah, I would have to give it a 9 out of 10. Psychos hanging from the tree.
The one
tree. Yeah, the soundtrack is great. The fact that 4 different composers are on this soundtrack and it sounds so cohesive is amazing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just say that maybe a little bit more would be better.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, those composers are Ryzon Varner. You can see some of his work in Borderlands 3, soundcloud.com/rvarner, Chris Velasco at chrisvelasco.com. No H in Chris. He's worked on so many titles: The Long Dark, Resident Evil 7, Carrion, Jesper Kid, Assassin's Creed, Hitman, Unreal Tournament 3, Sasha Dikissian. Yeah, sonicmayhem.com for that one.
Yep.
Excellent soundtrack. And
yeah, for sure.
You can listen, I believe, to each of these artists on iTunes. Or you can buy the album itself, the CD, on Amazon. And also the double LP is still on lacedrecords.com.
There you go. Go out and get it.
It's hot pink. It's actually beautiful. I like it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite LPs.
Yeah.
The strange colors are what grabbed me now.
Yeah.
Everyone does weird. Black and red. It's the hot pink ones.
Yeah.
Well, John, that is the show. If you would like to say goodbye to the dear audience, please do so.
I'll see you all in the vault.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and subscribe on your podcast app of choice. Also, check out Magus Media's other podcast, This Is Not Happening, Another X-Files podcast, for complete episode breakdowns, insightful banter, and inane babble. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.
Well, hello there, Internet people. My name is Josh, and I am one of the hosts of the Nastagram RPG podcast. We're an actual play podcast, and we're good. And why are we good? Well, let's let the other host tell you. Dan.
Hey, everyone. If you like authentic, real-world sound effects, our lasers go pew-pew.
I love it. Matt.
Skip me. Coming back to Matt.
Ryan.
Okay, so after 2 decades of trying, we finally mastered the 3.5 grapple. We did.
Never mind.
Try again. Scratch that.
Check it out. Look it up.
John?
If you're looking for a RPG podcast that plays a whole hell of a lot of games, you like to spice the life.
Spice it up. Matt, you ready?
Yeah, I think I'm ready. If you enjoy bad accents and overacting, you'll enjoy our podcast.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And Jake, bring us home.
I like to just say, we didn't just throw a phone on the table and hit record. Like, Josh does a damn good job with the editing. And
Facts.
If you care about that, you will not be disappointed.
That's right. We spent a bunch of money that we don't make on the podcast.
100%.
So check us out, Nastagram RPG Podcast. You can find us on all the goddamn podcast apps, and we'll see you there.
That's nasty.